All right, get ready for a deep dive, and this time it's all about you getting ready for your trip to Belgium.
Absolutely, and we know you might be feeling a little overwhelmed with all the planning and
Oh,
guidebooks.
yeah,
So we're here to break it all down, make it easy to understand.
exactly. This is all about the essentials, the need to know stuff for your Belgian adventure.
We're talking about everything beyond the chocolate and waffles.
Well, we'll definitely get to the chocolate waffles later.
That too.
But first, let's tackle something that might not sound so exciting, but trust me, it's super important. Travel insurance.
Yeah, I know. Insurance isn't exactly the most glamorous topic.
Right. It used to make my eyes glaze over too, but then, well, let's just say I learned my lesson the hard way. Missed a flight connection once, stuck overnight in, where was it? Oh, Dublin.
Oh, no!
Yeah, no insurance, ended up paying out of pocket for a hotel, meals, the whole shebang. Definitely put a dent in my travel budget.
Oh, I bet. It's those unexpected hiccups that can really throw a wrench in your plans. And it's not just about missed connections. Think about lost luggage
Ugh, don't even get me started.
or sudden illnesses.
Yeah, true, true.
These things happen, and without insurance, those costs add up quickly.
And we're not just talking about the financial side of things either, right? There's also the peace of mind that comes with knowing you're covered if something goes wrong. Like, what about medical emergencies abroad?
Absolutely. Even though Belgium has a really good healthcare system, it can get expensive for visitors. Even something as simple as, say, a twisted ankle could lead to a pretty hefty bill if you're not insured.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, travel insurance, travel medical insurance, got it. Big check marks on the pre-trip checklist. What's next? Visas.
Okay, good news first. As a U.S. citizen, you don't need a traditional visa for short stays in Belgium.
Okay, phew. But wait a minute. I think I remember something about a new system, right? Something coming into play soon.
You're exactly right. It's called ETS, the European Travel Information and Authorization System. It's launching in 2025.
So, not too far off.
Yep, and even though it's not a visa, it is an authorization you'll need to apply for online before you go.
Ah, okay, so not a visa, but still essential.
Essential. Think of it like a pre-screening thing to make sure everything's safe and secure in the Schengen area.
Right, right. Schengen area, got it. And is it a complicated process applying for this ETS thing?
No, not at all. It's pretty straightforward, actually. You just fill out an online application.
Okay,
You'll need your passport info, details about your trip, and you answer a few security questions.
sounds simple enough.
It is. And usually the approval comes through quickly, but it's always best to apply in advance just in case.
Yeah, definitely don't want to leave that one to the last minute.
Definitely not. It's way more important than remembering to pack an extra pair of socks.
Haha, through that. Okay, so we've got insurance sorted, EDS on our radar. What else should we be thinking about before we pack our bags and head off to Belgium?
Well, let's talk safety.
Okay.
Now, generally, Belgium is a very safe country, but it's always smart to be aware, especially in those busy tourist areas.
Right, right.
For example, pickpocketing can be a bit of an issue in crowded places like train stations or those popular attractions in Brussels or Antwerp.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. It's easier to let your guard down when you're caught up in the excitement of a new place.
Exactly. So just be mindful of your belongings, especially in those crowded areas. Okay, and now for some more practical tips.
Okay, bring him on.
Currency. I know it might seem obvious, but
Euros.
euros, yes. But here's a little something to remember. While cards are accepted pretty much everywhere, it's always a good idea to have some euros on hand. For smaller purchases, especially if you're venturing out to those more rural areas or hitting up those local markets.
Right, that makes sense. Cash is king sometimes. Speaking of, what's the tipping etiquette in Belgium?
Okay, so unlike some other countries, tipping in Belgium isn't mandatory. It's not like, automatically expected, but it's always appreciated, especially for good service. You can round up the bill, or you can leave a little extra, especially at restaurants.
Gotcha. I always feel a little awkward about tipping in different countries.
I get it. It can be confusing. All right, and one more thing, electrical outlets.
Oh, yeah, good one. Will I need a suitcase full of adapters?
No, you won't need a whole suitcase full, thankfully. You will need an adapter, though. Belgium uses Type C and E plugs, and the Vantage is different, too. It's 230V.
Okay, so I'll just need to pick up an adapter before I go. Easy peasy.
Exactly. You can find them online or at any travel store.
Perfect. So we've covered safety, currency, tipping, even electrical outlets. What about the budget? How much should someone expect to spend on a trip to Belgium?
That's a great question. And the good news is, Belgium really does offer something for every budget. It all depends on your travel style and what you want to do.
Right, right.
If you're on a tight budget, you can definitely make it work. Think about staying in hostels instead of hotels,
Yeah.
enjoying that delicious street food,
Street food.
and taking advantage of Belgium's awesome public transportation.
I've heard the trains are great.
They are. So on a budget, you could probably get by comfortably on, let's say, 50 to 80 euros a day.
Wow, that's not bad at all. And what if you want to splurge a little, but still, keep it reasonable? What would a mid-range budget look like?
For a more comfortable experience, you're probably looking at around 100 to 200 euros a day. That gives you a bit more wiggle room with accommodations, maybe some nicer restaurant meals, and even a few tours or activities.
Okay, so there really is something for everyone.
There really is. Now, we've talked a lot about the practical side of things. Are you ready to dive into what makes Belgium truly special? What you'll actually experience when you're there?
Oh, absolutely. Bring on the good stuff.
Okay, then let's talk about something Belgium is famous for. Its beer culture.
Ah, yes, Belgian beer. Legendary, but tell me more. What makes it so special?
Well, for one, Belgium has a super long and rich brewing tradition going back centuries. We're talking like way back.
Wow, I did not know that.
And they have this incredible variety of beers. We'll dive into all the details later on, but for now, just imagine yourself sipping a Trappist beer
Oh, okay.
brewed by monks in a centuries-old abbey.
Okay, now you're talking. That sounds amazing. It's not just about the beer, it's the whole experience.
Exactly. And speaking of experiences, let's talk about those medieval cities that everyone raves about.
Oh, yes, I've been seeing pictures everywhere. Cobblestone streets, canals, it all looks so magical.
It truly is. Think Bruges,
Okay.
Ghent, Antwerp.
Yeah.
Each city is like stepping back in time. Cobblestone streets, canals, those stunning guild halls, the towering belfries. It's a history and architecture lover's dream.
I can just picture myself strolling along those canals, maybe enjoying some Belgian chocolate along the way.
Ah, yes, the Belgian chocolate. We have to talk about that.
I mean, it's kind of a big deal, right?
It's a huge deal. Belgian chocolate is famous for its exceptional quality and craftsmanship. They use the finest cocoa beans, often from specific regions that are known for their unique flavors.
Wow, I had no idea it was that intricate.
Oh yeah, it's a whole process. And then there's the whole process of blending, conching, tempering. It gives it that smooth, velvety texture that just melts in your mouth.
I can almost taste it already. And you mentioned pralines earlier. Those are like a Belgian specialty, right?
They are. They're these little bites of heaven filled with ganache, cream, or other delicious fillings.
Okay, pralines are definitely going on the must-try list. But enough about chocolate for now. Let's talk about history. We touched on Brussels earlier. What are some must-see historical spots there?
Well, the Grand Place, the main square in Brussels, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's surrounded by those ornate guild halls and the stunning City Hall. You have to see it to believe it.
I've seen pictures, and it looks absolutely breathtaking.
It is. And while you're in Brussels, you might also want to check out the European Quarter.
Oh, right. The heart of European politics.
Exactly. You can see the European Parliament, the European Commission, even the Council of the European Union. It's like a behind-the-scenes look at how decisions are made that affect the whole continent.
Wow, that's fascinating. I love those kinds of behind-the-scenes glimpses.
It's a unique experience for sure. And if you're into art, Belgium has a lot to offer there too. The Flemish masters.
Oh, yes, like Rubens.
Rubens, exactly. Van Eyck.
Yes.
They left behind this incredible legacy, and you can see their masterpieces in museums all over Belgium.
Where would you recommend going to see Rubens' work?
Antwerp is a great place to start. The Rubens house, his former home and studio, is a museum now, and you can see some of his most famous pieces there.
Okay, adding Antwerp to the list. And I've heard Ghent is a good art city, too.
Oh, definitely. Ghent is home to St. Bavo Cathedral, where you can see the Ghent altarpiece. It's one of the most famous and most important works of art in the world.
Wow, I've seen pictures of that. Seeing it in person must be incredible.
It's awe-inspiring. Now, I know we've thrown a lot of options at you, and you might be thinking, how am I going to fit it all in?
Haha, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. There's so much to see and do.
Well, here's the great thing about Belgium. It's a relatively small country, and the train system is excellent.
Oh, that's good to know, so I can just hop on a train and go.
Pretty much, you can easily get from Brussels to Bruges in about an hour, and there are frequent connections to all the major cities, even smaller towns.
So no need to rent a car.
Unless you plan on going really off the beaten path, a car isn't really necessary. The trains are comfortable, they're affordable, and they'll get you where you need to go without having to deal with traffic or parking.
That definitely makes things easier.
Right. And speaking of making things easier, let's talk about something that often comes up: cultural nuances. Are there any quirky things about Belgian culture that you should be aware of?
Yeah, it's always helpful to know a little bit about the local customs and etiquette.
Well, one thing that might surprise you is that Belgians are really passionate about their fries.
Fries, like French fries.
Yes, but they call them frites.
Frites, okay.
And they're serious about them. You'll find these places called friteries or French fry stands everywhere.
Wow, so fries are like a national treasure in Belgium.
Pretty much. And here's the thing. They usually serve them with mayonnaise.
Wait, what? Ranaise?
I know it might sound a little strange, but it's a classic Belgian combination. You have to try it at least once.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. What about other Belgian customs? Any etiquette tips I should keep in mind?
Belgians are generally quite formal and polite. It's customary to greet people with a handshake, and you should always say please and thank you. And if you're invited to someone's home, it's considered polite to bring a small gift. Flowers, chocolates, something like that.
Okay, that seems pretty straightforward. Politeness is always a good policy, no matter where you are.
Exactly. So we've covered a lot today, from travel insurance and visas to chocolate, fries, and even a bit of art and history. How are you feeling? Ready for Belgium?
I am. I feel like I've gotten a taste of what Belgium has to offer, and I'm super excited to experience it all firsthand. You've given me so much more than just travel tips. You've really opened my eyes to the heart and soul of Belgium.
That's exactly what we were hoping for. We want you to go beyond the typical tourist experience, to really delve into what makes this country so special.
Well, mission accomplished. I'm feeling incredibly inspired and ready to go exploring.
That's great to hear, but before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I have one more question for you. After everything we've discussed, what's the one thing you're most looking forward to experiencing in Belgium?
Oh, wow, that's a tough one. There are so many things to choose from, but if I had to pick just one thing, honestly, it would have to be trying all those amazing Belgian beers. You really sold me on that whole Trappist beer experience, a centuries-old abbey, monks brewing. It just sounds so unique.
Ah, a beer enthusiast, I knew it. And trust me, those Trappist breweries are truly something special. It's not just about the beer, it's the history, the whole atmosphere.
Yeah, you mentioned they're often in these like really beautiful, secluded settings.
Exactly. Imagine rolling hills, maybe an old stone building, the smell of malt in the air.
Okay, stop. You're making me want to book my flight right now. But speaking of amazing places, we have to talk about those medieval cities. Bruges, Ghent, Antwerp, you've made them all sound so incredible. Do you have a favorite?
Oh, that's like asking me to choose a favorite child. Each one has its own personality, its own charm. Bruges, for example, is often called the Venice of the North.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that. Because of the canals, right?
Exactly. Picture picturesque canals, bridges, cobblestone streets. It's incredibly romantic, like stepping into a fairy tale.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. What about Ghent?
Ghent is a bit more of a hidden gem, I'd say. It's a vibrant university town, so there's a youthful energy, but it's also steeped in history. And the architecture. Oh, the architecture.
You're really selling it. What should I see there?
Well, for starters, the Gravenstein. It's a medieval castle right in the heart of the city.
A castle in the city. That's amazing. Okay, Ghent is definitely going on the list. What about Antwerp then?
Antwerp, ah, yes. It's a bustling port city, very cosmopolitan. It's known for its fashion, its diamonds, and of course its connection to those Flemish masters we were talking about, like Rubens.
Oh, right. So much art and history to sewn up.
Absolutely. Antwerp is a city that truly has something for everyone. And speaking of things that appeal to everyone, we can't forget about the Belgian chocolate. You mentioned you were excited to try it, and believe me, you won't be disappointed.
Everyone keeps telling me it's the best in the world. What's the secret?
Well, there's no one secret, really. It's a combination of things. The chocolatiers there, they're incredibly passionate about what they do. They use top-notch ingredients, often sourcing cocoa beans from very specific regions to get those unique flavor profiles.
Wow, I had no idea there was so much that went into it. It's like an art form.
It is. And then there's the whole production process, the conching, the tempering. All of that contributes to the amazing texture and that melt-in-your-mouth quality.
You're making me hungry. You mentioned pralines earlier, those little chocolate creations.
Yes, those are a Belgian invention, and they're a must-try. Imagine a little bite-sized piece of chocolate, but with this incredible filling inside.
Like what kind of filling?
Oh, all sorts. Ganache, cream, nuts, fruit. You name it, they've probably made a praline with it.
Okay, I'm adding praline tasting to my itinerary right now. But before we get completely lost in the world of chocolate, let's talk a little bit more about history. Belgium has a pretty rich and complex past, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's been at the crossroads of European history for centuries. You can find traces of it everywhere you go. Roman ruins, medieval castles and cathedrals. And of course, there are the more recent historical sites, especially those related to the World Wars.
Right. You mentioned earlier that the Grand Place in Brussels is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Are there any other historical places you'd recommend checking out?
Absolutely. If you're interested in World War I history, you have to visit Ypres. It was the site of some of the most intense fighting during the war.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize.
The whole city and the surrounding area, they're filled with memorials and museums dedicated to those who fought and died there.
That sounds incredibly powerful. And what about World War II? Any important sites from that era?
Bastogne is a key one. It was where the Battle of the Bulge took place, a major turning point in the war. Today, you can visit the Bastogne War Museum and the Mardassin Memorial, which is dedicated to the American soldiers who fought there.
Wow, so much history to explore. We've covered chocolate, beer, history. What about the art scene? You mentioned Belgium has a vibrant art scene. Where should I go to get my art fix?
Well, we already talked about the Flemish masters, whose works you can find in museums all over the country. But Belgium also has a thriving contemporary art scene. In Brussels, for example, there's Beaux-Arts, the Center for Fine Arts.
What kind of stuff do they have there?
Oh, all sorts. Exhibitions, performances, events. It's always changing, always pushing boundaries.
Sounds cool. And what about Ghent? I think you mentioned it has a strong art scene too.
Ghent is amazing for street art. You'll find these colorful murals and graffiti art, all over the city. It's like walking through an open-air gallery.
Oh, wow, I love that. So I can see the masterpieces in the museums, then wander the streets of Ghent and discover some cool street art. I'm telling you, I'm going to need to extend my trip to fit it all in.
That's the spirit. And don't forget, we haven't even talked about the waffles yet.
Oh, right. The waffles. Everyone keeps telling me Belgian waffles are on a whole other level. What makes them so special?
Well, first of all, there are actually two main types of waffles in Belgium. Brussels waffles and Liège waffles. The Brussels waffle is probably the one you're most familiar with.
Okay, yeah, I think I've seen those. Rectangular with those big, deep squares.
Exactly. Light and crispy with those pockets that are just perfect for holding all sorts of toppings.
Okay, yum. What about Liège waffles then? How are they different?
Liège waffles are a bit denser, chewier, and they have this caramelized sugar coating that gives them a slightly crispy, sweet crust.
Oh, man. Now that sounds amazing.
They're often sold as street food, and trust me, you can smell them baking from a mile away. The smell alone is enough to make you want to buy one.
Okay, so two different types of waffles, each with its own unique texture and flavor. This is important. Is there a right way to eat a Belgian waffle?
Not really. That's part of the fun. You can customize them however you like. Some people like them plain and simple. Others go all out with the toppings.
So if I want to pile on the whipped cream, the fruit, the chocolate sauce, I'm not breaking any waffle etiquette rules.
Absolutely not. Go wild. Embrace your inner waffle enthusiast.
You've convinced me. Okay, enough about the food. What about the people? What are Belgians like?
They're generally known for being friendly, down to earth, and very welcoming to visitors.
Okay, I like that.
They all have a great sense of humor, and of course, they love good food and drink.
Sounds like my kind of people.
I think you'll fit right in. Belgians really know how to savor the moment and appreciate the good things in life.
You know, it's amazing how much we've covered today. We've talked about everything from beer and chocolate to history, art, even waffle etiquette. I feel like I'm already getting a real sense of what Belgium is all about.
And that's exactly what we were aiming for. We wanted to give you more than just the usual tourist information. We want you to go beyond the guidebook, to really connect with the heart and soul of Belgium.
Well, you've definitely achieved that. I'm feeling super inspired and excited to explore.
That's fantastic to hear. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I have one more question for you. After everything we've discussed, if you could only visit one city in Belgium, which one would it be?
Ooh, that is a tough one. You've made them all sound so appealing. But if I had to pick just one, you know what? I think I'd have to go with Ghent. It just sounds like the perfect mix of everything history, art, and that kind of laid-back vibe you mentioned. Plus, a medieval castle right in the city. I'm sold.
I knew you'd appreciate Ghent. It's definitely a hidden gem, and you're right, that castle, the Gravenstein. It's a must-see. You can practically feel the history when you're there, walking those ramparts, imagining what life was like back then.
I'm already picturing it, but honestly, after all this talk, I'm already planning a return trip so I can see it all. Bruges, Antwerp, those Trappist breweries. I need to start saving those euros.
That's the spirit. Belgium is the kind of place you want to go back to again and again. There's always something new to discover, whether it's a tiny little shop tucked away in Brussels, or a cozy pub in Bruges, or maybe even a local festival in a small village. You never know what you'll find.
You know, what's really struck me during this deep dive is just how much depth Belgium has. It's not just about those, those iconic sites. It's about the history, the art, that passion they have for everything from chocolate to beer, and of course, those friendly, welcoming people.
You got it. It's a country that really engages all your senses. You can taste that rich chocolate. You can smell those waffles baking. You can hear the bells ringing in those old squares. You can see the colors of the street art. It's an experience, that's for sure.
I feel like I've gone from being completely overwhelmed to like genuinely excited and ready to go. You've given me so much more than just like travel tips. You've given me a real sense of what makes Belgium so special.
That's what we were going for. We wanted you to walk away, not just with a list of places to see, but with a real feeling for what it's like to be in Belgium, to experience it. And remember, the best travel experiences, they're the ones that go beyond the guidebook. Don't be afraid to explore, to talk to people, to try new things. Embrace those unexpected moments. That's where the magic happens.
I'm definitely feeling inspired. I can't wait to see where my Belgian adventure takes me. Thanks again for all the great info.
Enjoy every minute of it. Safe travels. And until next time, happy exploring, everyone.
Bye, everyone. SCAA.